Yesterday we left off with talking about paste into. Remember how I showed you could take an image and paste it inside a selection and create almost like a mask with it, so it would not go outside the confines of the box. And then we talked also briefly about how, even though that technique is very useful, don't overdo it and don't be sticking all these super detailed polished images on your box and mistaking that for designing. All right. That's just decorating. It's not designing. So I would prefer that if you use paste into, that you use it in a way where maybe you're just putting in a background image or something, but then you're putting lots of other elements on top of it and still coming up with your own design. All right. So moving on from that, other than paste special, everything else in the edit menu is pretty much stuff we've already gone over. It's some of these other things down the road that we will want to go over, like filters and stuff. All right, so my image yesterday got reset somehow, so starting over again, but this is a good time to review. Remember, when you first open your image and you get started, first thing you want to do is remember, duplicate your background your background layer, and then turn off your background. And that, just keep that in reserve in case you mess up. And then this background copy, you should leave clean. You should not put any fills or strokes or images in this layer. Leave it clean so that you can use it for selecting. I mean, yes, you can select other ways, but this is so easy to just keep it like this and click on anything. It's much more efficient. You just got to get in the habit of creating new layers and switching back and forth to do selections and then to actually do your whatever it is you're doing. Okay? All right, so all these other things in edit you don't really need to know. So it's really just paste into, fill and stroke, and then transform. And cut and copy and all that stuff and undo. Hotkeys are easier for that. I wouldn't try to, if possible, get used to using the hotkeys for those things. Your work will go a lot faster. All right, image. We went over this a little bit, but we'll do more. The image menu is where you're going to have all of your functions, like changing your brightness and contrast, color balance, things of that nature. So let me pull up an actual color image and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's try this one. Come on, you can do it. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. This is going to be the Robin one, which is fine. Whoo. There we go. Okay. So, if I go to image adjustments, first of all, let me remind you again about mode. Sometimes you're going to pull in images, and if you try to do something to them, it'll say you can't do it because it's indexed color or some other thing. If you run into that, simply go to Image and Mode and make sure RGB color is checked. And if it's not, convert it to an RGB color file, and that way you should be able to edit it however you want. All right, and that's all you really need to know about mode. Just always make sure you're working with RGB color. And this 8 bits per channel thing, just leave that alone. That can be the default. All right, now moving down to the next one. We've got brightness contrast, levels, curves, etc. Brightness contrast is a quick kind of a slider type menu where you can make something, obviously brightness makes it brighter, and contrast will increase the range between dark and light. Brightness controls the overall brightness of the image. So if something gets pulled in, sometimes you'll just find images that are kind of dark like this. If you open them in Photoshop, you can use brightness contrast. You don't want to make them too bright, but see that looks better. Actually, it looks a little different on my screen than it does up on the projector, but you get the idea. So brightness contrast. Now, another way to do brightness contrast that I prefer is levels, only because it gives you a little more control. When you open up levels, you see this kind of graph thing here called a histogram, and this lets you control your highlights, shadows, and midtones with these little sliders here. All right, and if I click on the white triangle and slide it, it makes the image go brighter. But you don't want to take it to the point where the highlights start getting too bright and washing out the image. Just slide it a little bit. Conversely, the dark triangle here on the left, if you slide it this way, it's going to make the darks darker. And you see these little kind of spiky, almost looks like a seismograph kind of a thing. This just refers to how dark the darks get. And if you slide it past where the things spike up, that's where you start to reach the point of things getting too much to one extreme or the other. So you don't want to go too far down. I mean, it's going to depend on the image to an extent, but even if you don't understand what all these little lines and stuff mean, it's nice because you can kind of see the changes instantly. So as soon as you start sliding, you'll see how far you need to go with it. The other thing you can do is just click auto, and it will sort of automatically do what it thinks needs to be done to the image. So this is, before, after. So that is levels. Curves and exposure, don't worry about that. That's more for like photography stuff, and it's a little complex for a beginner, in my opinion. All right, vibrance, you don't really need to worry about that. Again, it just works on a slider type thing, and you can go in and check the color intensity. All right, so if I take the vibrance down, it's going to look almost desaturated, almost gray. If I slide these all the way down, it becomes a black and white image. So that's what vibrance and saturation do. For a box like this, since I'm doing like animated kind of comic booky style, I'm going to want my colors pretty vibrant, so this would be a handy tool to use. All right. Hue saturation. lets me change the colors. If I slide the hue, you see how it starts to, you know, change the reds, blues, and greens. All right. Saturation, as I just explained, refers to how intense a color is, so you can play with that. And then lightness, right? But sometimes this is handy if you want to make a selection, let's say, and change certain parts of an image. Like, let's say you're doing an activity on your box, something like spot the differences. Like you have two of the same picture, and then you're like changing little subtle parts of one and then making people like pick which parts are different. You could go in and, for example, select, like get the quick selection tool or the magic wand. Quick selection probably work better. And just change, like just select Robin's hand. Then go back up to image adjustments, hue saturation, and just slide that. Hit OK. You know, just do a quick little subtle. I don't know if you can make that out what I did there, but I just changed the color of his his glove. Excuse me. I'll just undo that. So before and after. Color balance. Sometimes you will open up a image and it'll have too much of a one hue or another. Like it'll just have kind of like a yellow tint to it or a bluish tint, and it just won't look quite right. And the way to fix that is go open up color balance under adjustments under image, and you can slide these things and it will kind of correct. Like if you drag it towards, oh, hold on, let me deselect that glove. Let's go back, image adjustments. If I slide it over to red, the image is going to kind of get more of a red tinge to it. So let's say when I brought in my image, it's going to look something like this, and it's just too red. Then I would just get the red and slide it towards the blue end, and it'll kind of look more accurate. All right, see already on this image, I can tell that the magenta is a little bit too strong. And again, you can really tell on my computer back here. So if I slide this more towards green, not all the way, but just about to there, the image looks a lot better to me. A lot of the purplish, magenta-ish tinge is gone, and it's leaning a little towards the bluish side to me. So I'm going to bring this a little more towards the yellow as well, not all the way. See, that looks a million times better to me now than it did. So let me undo it and see what it looked like before. All right, that was it before. His skin just looks kind of purpley. Now it looks way better, in my opinion. Hopefully you agree. All right. So that's the advantage of using color balance. And again, this is more for like correcting some of the images you find and bring in. It's not necessarily for things on your box. All right. These are the ones you don't need to worry about. Invert, posterize, all of these just ignore. The only ones you really need to focus on this menu are levels, brightness, contrast, vibrance, hue, saturation, and color balance. Desaturate right here simply takes all the color out. Click it once and boom, it's a black and white image. It's a grayscale image. So that's it for that adjustments menu. Now, as far as the rest of image, we have kind of gone over this. So image size, remember, this is where you go to check the resolution and the dimensions of your image. All right. See, 72 DPI, that's kind of on the low side, but considering this is fairly flat artwork, as long as I keep the images fairly small on my box, I can get away with it. But if I zoom in really close on this stuff, you'll see how, well, even on his arm here, see all these little chunky, well, maybe you can't see it because of the projector once again, but there's all these little artifacts and cruddy pixels here because it's such a low res JPEG. And a JPEG is a compressed format, so it's going to take pixels and do weird stuff to them in order to save memory. So just something you've got to keep an eye on when you're getting images together, because a lot of things on Google are going to be low res. So image size is a way to check it. And again, if something is really high res, you can make it lower and it'll look fine. But if something is low res, you can't make it high. Like if I wanted to up this to 300 DPI, or to make my point clearer, let's do it even more. Let's do 600 and hit OK. Now, yes, that's going to add more pixels into the image, but all it's going to really do is make it look blurry. See, now it's bigger, but it hasn't improved the quality of the image at all. In fact, it's even fuzzier than it was. So you can't make something, see all those weird splotchy things in there and on his face? So you can't do that. So let me take it back to where it was. You can't just make something have more pixels and have it look better. All right. Canvas size, that's how you just make an image have more pixels. This is the current size up here, and then this is what you would change it to. So let's say I wanted to increase the size of this to 10 inches wide by 12 inches tall. Then down here, I would select where I want the new pixels to go. On the bottom half, on the top half, or evenly distributed in the middle. Now if I hit OK, see what it did? It added extra space to my canvas. So now the image is 10 by 12, like I said. And the reason why it made it purple is because purple is selected as my foreground color. All right. So, and then, that's pretty much it. Rotation rotates the image. So let's say you bring something in Photoshop and it's sideways. Just go to image rotation and do 90 degrees clockwise, and it'll make it 90 degrees clockwise. Or if you have something that you want to flip right to left, go to image rotation and do flip horizontal, and it'll reverse it. All right, so that's all you need to know for image. Layer, we kind of went over yesterday. These are all the same tools that are over here on this layer menu. Okay, so we've already been over, things like create a new layer, duplicate layer. You don't need to worry about most of these. The mouse is not cooperating. Layer mask and vector mask, don't worry about that. Layer style, we went over yesterday. Remember, you can click that and add strokes and glowing effects and embossing effects to your images. Smart objects, again, I don't really care for them. if you want to use them, I guess you can. But like, let's say you bring in a smart object and you want to rasterize it. This is where you would do it. You'd go to smart objects, go all the way down to rasterize. And as I mentioned the other day, that makes it part of the image, makes it editable. It's not just kind of temporarily there. Rasterize does the same thing. You can go to the rasterize menu and you can rasterize type or smart object. The rest of this you don't really need to worry about at this level. Then at the bottom, merge layers is when you take two layers and combine them like that are next to each other. Merge visible will merge all layers that are turned on in an image. So let's say you have an example like this where you have a bunch of layers together. If I do a layer merge visible, it's going to merge these two layers because they're turned on. Their eyeballs clicked. If I click it off, then it won't merge it. All right. Type we went over already. The select menu, all that you really need to know from that is Control A selects the entire image, Control D deselects, and inverse. So remember the other day when I was selecting Batman with the magic wand and I selected the background first, then I inverted the selection? That's what inverse is. And then, of course, refine edge, which we also went over the other day, where I selected Robin and smoothed out his the edges of his body. Okay, that's all you really need to know for that. Filter, this is the fun one. All right, filters are something that I'm not going to spend a ton of time on, but it's something that you should experiment with on your own if you get a chance. All right. Filters are basically like special effects, and you can do all kinds of crazy things with them, but there's so many, I just can't go through them all. So we'll just do a couple just to show you. Let me open up. This would work better with a photograph, but let's bring up Spidey. This works well for this sort of thing. Give me a second. There we go. Okay. So filters are kind of broken up into categories. There are filters to distort, filters to either add noise or take noise away. Noise just refers to the pixelization of an area, the look of it. There are filters for sharpening, stylizing, etc. There's also something called filter gallery, which is the ones that I like to use. All right, filter gallery will do something like give you a halftone pattern or a, man, this mouse is really lousy. So, like, for example, for my Batman box I'm doing, I might want to do something like a halftone pattern because it kind of emulates comic book printing. And right now it's doing purple and black because those are my foreground and background colors. But once you click on a filter, you can actually go in and then change like the size, change the level of, you know, detail or color. All right. So if I up the contrast, it's going to make this look more flattened. Photocopy, stamp, right? These are all kind of useful things that you can do, and you can go back and change your foreground and background color. Do something that looks embossed. These aren't going to all work. It depends on what you're doing. Some of this might be too much, but they're worth just experimenting with. But again, I can't go in and show you every single one because there are so many, and each one of these folders has like 10 or more filters in them. Ink outlines, under brush strokes, you can do artistic, has some cool ones. Plastic wrap's a fun one. Makes it look like it's wrapped in saran wrap. Colored pencil. And then again, each one of these you can slide and adjust and do some cool things with. The thing I would say about filters is that you should use them sparingly. Don't go crazy and do everything filters, because then your box is just going to look really busy and jumbled. But if you want to add a little bit of texture or something to parts of your box, I think filter would be a good use of that. But again, you just need to play around and see which one is appropriate for you. And you're just going to have to give yourself the time to kind of go in and just experiment a little bit. You don't have to use filters, but I think that they can add a certain flair, let's say, to what you're doing. Ocean ripple, right? So that's layers in a nutshell. All right. Any questions on that? The only other thing I'll say about filters is that down here, sometimes it's useful to use these things like one that I use a lot is sharpen, unsharp mask. And this will actually let me go in and sharpen an image that's a little pixelated. So if I find something that's a little low res and looks chunky, I can use unsharp mask and bring up. See, this one doesn't look too bad, but if I put an unsharp mask on it, you'll see that I can actually make it even sharper. So things like unsharp mask are good to use. See the difference there? It's the contrast is a little stronger. Okay, so that's that. 3D, you don't need to worry about any of that. View, we've already done. Remember, view is where you go to set up your rulers and grid, turn those on and off, zoom in, zoom out, create guides if you need guides. Windows, where all your these floating menus go. So if you want to turn on, just make sure layers is always turned on and swatches. All right. Finally, the last thing I will talk to you about is making sure that you understand that layers can have, you can manipulate layers a little bit. So let's say, again, I come here. Let me drag in a couple of these. Elements. All right, so we've already talked about layers in the sense of wherever the layer order is affects how it looks. So right now Robin is above this bat because his layer is above the bat layer. And I really should double click and label them. I should call that Robin. Double click on the name and just name these things so we know what they are. And I also mentioned that if you have a bunch of elements overlapping each other and you have a ton of layers over here and you don't know which layer is which, if you get the move tool, you can right click on it and it's going to say, here's all the layers you have. And it gives you a list. And right now I've only got a few, but like if I had a bunch of layers on here, I might have like maybe 10 or more listed. If these are named, I can simply go in and select the one I want, and it will automatically take me to that layer. Very handy. So now I have the bat symbol selected. If I want to make the bat symbol in front of Robin, I simply drag that layer above it or drag the Robin below it, either way. And now that's how I want it. And now I can transform, scale, bring that up a little higher, etc. Now the other thing I can do is I can do things like change the opacity of a layer. So up here, you see this thing called opacity, 100%. If I were to click on that and slide it down, you see how the layer starts to get lighter and lighter? All right, so I can do neat effects. Like let's say I have this bat symbol over here. Let me zoom in a little closer. And I bring this over and I feel like that's too strong, I can just take the opacity, put it down, and it's there, but it's kind of more of an overlay. So you can do kind of cool layering effects just by changing the opacity of a layer. You can also use things, there's these blending options up here. See right now it says normal. If I click on this, you get this whole list and you can go through and change the blending options. Like I can do overlay. So now it's kind of, the bat's there, but I can kind of see through it. You can do soft light or hard light. A lot of it's just kind of trial and error. Color burn. So it might not be something that you need, but something to think about. All right, so that's basically it for layers. And then don't forget what we talked about yesterday again with layer style. Add some text or something, and you can double click, bring up the layer style, and then you can add strokes and fills and outlines and glowing things and whatever. All right. So we've got a little time left. Now let's, if there's no questions, that's pretty much it for the Photoshop stuff. I mean, there's obviously a lot more we could have done, but that's kind of the quick crash course. Yes. Refine Edge is up on select. Now on yours, and I explain, on your computers, you're running like a newer version of Photoshop than I am. So what they have done is actually renamed that. So let me go ahead and select this and go up here. I have Refine Edge. Yours is called something like Select and Mask or something like, yeah. So just make a note of that, guys, is that, I think I'm running Photoshop 2015 or 16. You guys are running 2017. So sometimes Photoshop likes to just arbitrarily change the names of things just to annoy people, I guess, because that's the end result. All right. So real quick now, let's look at some boxes. All right. I don't know why it's there. We go. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is a student-made box. They cut it out and assembled it. It's made from the same template you guys are using. And she basically made her own theme that had to do with like wildlife or I can't remember exactly what it was, but she drew all the animals and stuff herself and colored them in digitally and put them on her box. And I think some of the maps and backgrounds and stuff she got from other things, but see, this is what I'm talking about. She didn't just get something and not do anything else to it on her box. She actually used a map for a background, and then she put other elements with it, logos and text and images, and made a new design out of it. All right. So, the logo placement could be a little bit better. There are some aspects of it that, maybe could be different, but overall I think it's a nice box. Yeah, I think she got this was several years ago. I mean, she probably got like a low A on it or something. Well, I'm going to show you some other ones. All right, here's another one. Again, this is his own theme. He didn't rely on a movie or a cartoon. He wanted this to be educational. So he did something called Age of Exploration. And so all of his activities and themes had to do with explorers. And it's informational. It's all the activities are about educating about history and historic facts. And this is the toy he made, and it's just like a little bath toy of like Columbus and like a little ship, and like you can take him out, you know, and it kind of floats on water. He made this out of, I think he had like some kind of a a lightweight floating thing, and he just put some Sculpey over it, so it actually floats in water. But the box itself, he's using some images, but then he's doing other things with it. He put the logo inside a compass. That's kind of a neat idea. He's using fonts that are appropriate. He's not using any modern looking fonts. Everything's either like a stencil or something that looks kind of Victorian in uh, in style. Okay. Here's another original one, I think. Hey, it's just this, yeah, character she came up with. Um, and she came up with her own logo, like the E and the hey is like his head. I think this is a cat or something. I don't remember. It's been a while. But again, she drew all these characters herself and then scanned them in and put them on her box, which is pretty cool. I just found some cool stuff in the background. Um, so she's got different activities like find the music notes and, you know, I think her activities could have been a little bit better designed, but overall, I like the fact that she used her own character and logo and stuff. So she definitely got kudos from me for that. Um, Here's an established one. This is Isabel Miranda. Her sister goes here. Oh, yeah, Amelia Miranda's sister Isabel. This was hers back when she was a freshman. I can't hear what. Oh yeah, she was great at art. She was really, really good. So she did Lion King. This is her box. So she made a maze, and see, she got some pieces of art from Google, but then she did more to them, overlaid stuff. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Logos are pretty good. The toy is like a little finger puppet that she made. She got like a little film canister to put the finger in, and then she sculpted around it and sculpted and she had like more than one of them. She had like 2 or 3 of them that she made. But just sculpted them out of Sculpey, then baked them, and then painted them with acrylic paint. All right, and I want to say that's it for this one, but I've also got more here. Let's see what we can find. I don't remember what a lot of these looked like. See if this will open them up or not. Okay, there we go. So this is a student. She graduated a couple years ago. This is strawberry shortcake. So you can see very nice, appropriate use of color and gradients. You know, she's choosing a palette that kind of matches the images she's finding. So she's sampling colors and using lots of pinks and blues, bright colors. I'll continue when this is over with.
Stand for the prayer and the pledge. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Spirit of wisdom, preside over my thoughts, words, and actions from this hour to the moment of my death. Spirit of understanding, enlighten and teach me. Spirit of counsel, direct my experience. Spirit of fortitude, strengthen my weakness. Spirit of knowledge, instruct my ignorance. Spirit of piety, make me fervent in good works. Spirit of fear, restrain me from all evil. Spirit of peace, give me your peace. Heavenly Spirit, make me preserve in the service of God the Father. Mary, Queen of all peace, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Gibbons Drama is pleased to present our One Act and Godspell double bill running this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7:30 in the Studio Theater. Tickets are $5 each and are good for admission to both shows. Purchase tickets online at cjhsnc.org/gibbonsdrama or from our lunch period cafeteria box office. As always, we are so thankful for all your support.
Cooking Club! Today is the last meeting of the year, and pizza's on the menu. Pizza is on the menu. Come down in the kitchen today at 3 p.m. to make your own pizza. Contact Mr. Hawks if you have any questions. Like Jeopardy? Yes. Are you a trivia master?
Yeah.
Join the academic team. There's an interest meeting on Monday, May 7th in room 223 at 3:05. Questions? See Mrs. Milker. Sophomores, if you'd like to order a class ring from Johnson's, forms are available outside the school's door.
Need to de-stress before exams?
Yeah.
Come online with an end-of-the-year yoga class in the dance room Tuesday at 3:15. Namaste. Hey, seniors. Let us know if you're coming to the first annual senior supper and what you want to eat by this Friday, May 4th. Pull your computers or phones out now and go to cjhsnc.org/seniorsupper2018.
Thanks for your attention and have a fantastic Friday.
Okay. So real quick, we've got 7 more minutes. We can look at a few more of these. All right. So I opened up a couple more. This one. Okay, let me go back to the strawberry shortcake one. This is an A box, guys. This is nice work. It's not too busy. The colors are nice and appropriate. The fonts are appropriate. And she found activities that are appropriate for the age group that she's going for. All right, so this is an attractive, eye-catching box that's designed fairly well. So that's definitely an A box. This one's pretty good. I like it, but there's just a couple of things like this is an example of what I feel like is just where they took a photo from Google and just put it on the side and then just left it. There's no activity on this side of the box, which is a big no-no. She's doing weird things like putting the McDonald's logo kind of up in a corner where it's not very visible. She should probably have it somewhere on one of the larger sides of the box. You know, it's just a little sparse. I mean, she basically just took the image from the show poster and stuck it up there with the logo and everything. I mean, this was as is. So I would have preferred that she made something different. Maybe move the logo somewhere else, put other elements on the box to make it more of an original design. This is a really great design, but it had nothing to do with her. Right? This is just someone else's design that she put on there. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. But having said that, there's other parts of the box that are a little better. I kind of like this whole Emerald City map thing. I think she could have used it in another place. I like how she's got the flying monkey, coming up behind the picture. That's kind of a clever design decision. So yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag with this one. There's some nice things, but there's also some things I think she could have spent more time on and done more designing with. This Avatar box is nice. Again, I think this is an example of like I don't even remember. I would need to see if I still have the layered file. If this whole thing was just an image he got, or if he took each character individually and put them up there and made his own design, and his own composition out of it. This color is a little flat. It would have been nice if he had some other texture or something on here to help this pop a little bit. Same with this one on this side. I like this little glow thing because it kind of adds a little texture. I feel like the Happy Meal box's logo looks a little weird on the handle. It should have been somewhere on, like maybe with the corner of the box or something. I think he could have had a little like more characters, more stuff on the sides, like the heads of characters or something. I feel like when you look at this box, if you had never heard of Avatar before, I don't know how much you would be into it after all this text. There's just so much text. Like I feel like a little kid's not going to read all that. I know some adults that wouldn't read all that, which is sad but true. Yes, yeah. So these other ones fold in, and then that one is on top. So yeah, that's why you put all that down there, which is a good thing. You don't have, I mean, you don't have to put nutrition facts on there. I mean, I don't even know if that's where he got that from. So having the answer somewhere is good, like on the bottom. So yeah, again, it's kind of it's a mix. There are some nice things happening, but there's also some things that I feel like he could have pushed a little further, adding some texture, making it more visual and not so text heavy. More images of characters is always a good thing, right? So having this side of the box with just a word find and no characters on it is, in my opinion, almost criminal. Like you should have more. It should be eye popping, right? I don't remember. He probably got a low A or a high B, something like that. All right, this one is this is one thing I have a problem with. Couple things. Number one, when you do a word find like this, you're gonna there's some websites that let you save it as a as a Word document or something, and you can just copy and paste it, and other ones don't. This one, you can't have a word find and not have all the letters be evenly spaced, because you see how the lines of text are all different lengths and stuff. You can't do that. That's kind of sloppy. Well, I don't remember how she did it. I just know it's wrong. And this whole thing of, hey, just put a black and white picture and color it, or just take a connect the dots thing, off the interweb and stick it on there. That to me is lazy. So try to avoid that if possible. This is probably a high B box. This to me is not A material. All right. Now I have way more examples that I could show, but we're out of time. So for the weekend before the bell rings, remember you got your still life paintings due on Wednesday. So work on those, take them home. Work on sketches. Be ready to come in on Monday, ready to start making your box. So have some thumbnail sketches, and not just one or two. Have different options for each side. Yes. We're working on the box all of next week, and then after that we're doing the toy, and then that's the end of the year. That's it. So if we finish up the box by next week, that'll give us a little over a week to work on the toy.